This is your news at 4 with me, Aarat Pandya.
And me, Jess, Percival. Our top story today? Nottingham city centre was much busier than normal this lunchtime, with fans flocking to Market Square to greet Prince Harry, as Lucas Swain-Britton reports.
Nottingham was treated to a royal visit this lunchtime when Prince Harry arrived in the city centre. Despite the grim weather, hundreds of residents flocked to meet the Prince as the royal took time to speak with the masses in Old Market Square outside the Nottingham Council House. Even with heavy security and press present, Harry took the time to shake hands, talk and joke around with the people of Nottingham, much to the enjoyment of the fans who took time to stand around to greet the much-loved royal.
Prince Harry is back in Nottingham again. The man who is fifth in line for the throne visits Nottingham for the 6th time in just 4 years, visiting 2 programmes supported by the Royal Foundation, Coach Corps and Full Effect.
With Harry frequently visiting the city, the people of Nottingham have taken to the Prince an awful lot.
I'm a royalist.
Yeah?
And I admire him so much for what he is doing for all the young people in Nottingham and especially St Anne's. And I think it's wonderful that he keeps coming over and doing what he does.
He's behind all his projects 100%, which I admire him for greatly. And he obviously loves Nottingham.
Have you met him?
With the close links Harry has with the Full Effect Performance Group and the Coach Corps scheme, this may not be the final time we get to see the Prince in the streets of Nottingham. Lucas Swain-Britton, CBJ News.
Nottinghamshire MPs are joining a vote this evening deciding whether to give Theresa May the power to stop Brexit. It follows days of heated debate in the House of Commons with MPs under pressure to vote in support of referendum results. We now cross to the newsroom and to a reporter, Josh Sprague. Josh, how the MPs are from our regions expected to vote?
The vote this evening follows the Supreme Court ruling that Parliament must be consulted before triggering Article 50, which is the legal clause that allows countries to leave the European Union.
Will there be much opposition to the bill?
Yes, a government source believes there will be around 100 MPs out of the 650 plus who will vote tonight, meaning Theresa May will get the go-ahead to begin Brexit. Here in Nottinghamshire, Rushcliffe MP Ken Clarke is voting against the bill and will be the only Tory to do so. His constituency voted Remain and he has been pro-Europe throughout his political career. Speaking in the House of Commons, the former Chancellor said he will vote with his conscience.
I personally shall be voting with my conscience content in this vote. And when we see what unfolds hereafter as we leave the European Union, I hope the consciences of other members of Parliament remain equally content.
What about the other Nottinghamshire MPs?
Chris Leslie, the MP for Nottingham East, is said to be part of the group who will vote against the legislation. He signed a letter drafted by the Vote Leave Watch group urging Mrs May to rethink her plans for a hard Brexit. Nottingham South MP Lillian Greenwood also signed this letter, but whether she will vote against the bill remains to be seen. Graham Allen, MP for Nottingham North, has written an article stating he will not vote for the bill whilst the government's negotiation remains unclear.
Aren't these MPs going against their own constituents?
Yes, Nottingham voted leave in the EU with a very close 50.8% majority. But the feeling from MPs tonight is they have to respect the results of the referendum. Many of them campaign to remain, but will vote with a heavy heart in the interests of their constituents.
Thank you, Josh.
With technology advancing, credit card fraud is becoming a bigger issue than ever before, affecting businesses big and small. However, a small business in Lace Market took a big hit financially with the loss of a vintage guitar, as Josh Hall investigates.
Credit card fraud, one of the most expensive thefts, meaning to fraudulently steal mass amounts of money through one's account details. And last year, credit and debit card fraud amounted for £755 million, a 26% increase over the previous year. Now, a vintage guitar shop in Hockley has experienced a loss of almost £3,000 through the Criminal Act, the item being a 40-year-old guitar which was paid over phone and accepted by the card machine.
We delivered the guitar out to an address in Wolverhampton. A couple of weeks later we were told by the credit card company that the card had been stolen and was actually stolen in Japan. and as a consequence they'd be taking the money back off us. We contacted the police, they're not interested, and we were also contacted by a London-based guitar shop who had actually been targeted by the same people at the same residential address, and they'd lost a £4,000 bass guitar. It's very cloak and dagger. They don't tell you what's going on, they don't tell you when the card was reported, they don't tell you why the card machine didn't reject a high value item on a Japanese card.
Do you think you'll ever get the guitar back then?
No, I don't think we'll ever see it again.
The range in which criminals can steal credit card information is wide-ranging. From phishing and scam emails, all the way to online fake banking websites, it appears now there are more ways for credit card fraud to happen than ever before. But what methods are in place to prevent this from happening? Vicky Sellers, a financial accountant for Nottingham Trent University, discusses how to ensure businesses like Nottingham City Guitars don't get caught out.
I think the dangers are that you've got to make sure that you take all the relevant steps to make sure that the card that you've been given actually belongs to the person who's giving you the information. If you follow all the necessary steps that the card machine's asking you, there should be no reason why you don't get your money back. If you choose to skip over those, like I assume Andy's done, then you're putting yourself at risk.
So remember to always keep your details safe. For more information, visit Financial Fraud Action UK online. Joshua Hall, CBJ News.
Over 1,000 people gathered in Nottingham's Market Square to protest against Donald Trump and his controversial policies. I headed down to the scene to see what demonstrators had to say. Feminists and people of colour, queers and Muslims, everyone got a chance to criticise the policies of Donald Trump, which they believe are hostile and backward. The protest has infamously added homophobia to his agenda, along with generalising Muslims by banning the nationals of 6 countries. Protesters say he's wrong in all these instances.
I'm really quite upset, to be honest, considering the progress that was made under Barack Obama. I think it's upsetting that he's going to roll back policies and introduce hate and just sort of general negativity into one of the most powerful positions in the world.
Proper Islam is a peaceful religion. This branding of ISIS, this is not Islam at all. You can't be throwing homosexuals off a roof of a building and justify it with Islam. There's nothing in the Quran that actually says this.
Women, particularly of colour and of the global south, are the ones to suffer the most, with various women speakers in the protest speaking of the reproductive rights of the women. Some even criticised Prime Minister Theresa May of not condemning what Trump is doing.
I feel that Donald Trump is an illegitimate president, but also he is the embodiment of all that's wrong with our society at the moment. He is the representation for many people of unbridled capitalism, of white supremacy and patriarchy, all of which are intersecting systems of oppression. I think it just legitimizes the continued denigration of women as a second sex, especially as well as gender non-conforming people who don't fit neatly into the gender binary.
Here at the Market Square, all I can feel is compassion and solidarity in the crowd. With over 1,000 people attending the protest today, there are many demands, but the prime one remains to be keep Donald Trump out of Britain. From banning refugees to banning abortion, Trump administration has ignited the flame of revolution for the liberals around the world. But there are still a lot of supporters who justify his acts.
What, 50% of people in the US don't agree with abortion? Why is it morally right that they have their money sent to overseas governments when they don't want it? You might disagree with it, but Trump is the elected president of the United States. He has to implement the will of his base, and that's what he's doing.
In London, around 10,000 people came and protested outside the 10 Downing Street. Nearly all the major cities of the world are holding similar protests as a response to Trump's idea of dividing the world. Aarat, Pandya, CBJ News.
Earlier today, our very own Aarat Pandya spoke to the secretary of the Green Party for Nottingham to find out why this protest was important.
I think it's very important for organisations to participate in protests like this so that we can, including the Green Party, so that we can make a stand against racism and the kind of racism and fascism that Trump represents and is now enacting in his policies. It's important for us to do this in the UK because we need to be internationalist in outlook and oppose it wherever we see it in the world, because if we don't oppose it across the world, then we could soon see it here at home.
Right, and is that what you aim of achieving?
Yes, we need to stop it happening in the US, we need to stop it happening in the UK, we need to stop it anywhere. There's no tolerance for racism, no tolerance for fascism, anywhere.
Wonderful. And we also like the huge turnout of people in the market square. And do you not think do you think it's enough, or do you think the scale would have been larger?
I think there were estimates made of about 1,500 people at the protest, which I think is quite a sizable proportion of people in terms of protests that have taken place in Nottingham before. So I think that's a very firm action or statement against Trump's policies from the City of Nottingham.
Right, OK. Right. So given a chance, if you get a chance to see Trump or Theresa May and advise them something, so either of them, who would you choose and go and talk to?
Well, in the very unlikely event that I would have the opportunity to speak to either of them, I'm not sure I would collaborate with Trump because he probably can't be reasoned with. But it's important for Theresa May, as our Prime Minister, to oppose these actions and to condemn his executive order and any other anti-migration policies that he may make in the strongest possible terms.
Well, she hasn't condemned so far, is she?
No.
Right.
We'll be keeping up the pressure.
Oh, all right, cool. So in these times of political unrest and the stress which is going on, so what message do you have for the people of the world to focus and, what should they feel? How should they react?
Well, as I said, the people of the world need to come together and unify against racism, against fascism, against Islamophobia, and against the borders that people like Trump are throwing up between peoples of the world in order to try and divide us. Instead, we need to be coming together as one in order to make the world a better place.
Counterfeit cigarettes are still an issue in the UK. The phrase illicit tobacco means cigarettes are illegally imported. CBJ's Olivia Orchard has more.
The East Midlands is officially one of the worst regions in the UK for selling illegal cigarettes. Earlier this month in Nottingham, more than £50,000 worth of illicit tobacco was found by sniffer dogs in only one afternoon. 3,500 packets of cigarettes were recovered during the raids. It's illegal to export the tobacco if tax hasn't been paid. Counterfeit cigarettes have been known to contain more than 500 times more killer toxins than legal cigarettes. And around £2.4 billion is lost every year due to illegal exportation.
We know about smoking anyway, that if there are other members of the family smoking, parents smoke, children are more likely to smoke. So in terms of that routine and normalising smoking, that's there already. And then the access to illicit cigarettes makes it even more easier to get hold of cigarettes. So that's a huge issue. And also, obviously, the media, that we know that media, less now, but previously it used to sensationalise smoking, make it look so attractive to young people.
Nottinghamshire County Council have always been confident of their power to stop illegal cigarettes making it into the East Midlands, despite claims from the International Chamber of Commerce, who say more need to be done.
To be honest, I'm surprised to hear that, because I know in Nottinghamshire we're doing a lot of work around this. We have been doing joint work with the police. We've had a police officer seconded into our trade and standards department. We've done a number of raids on shop premises, and we're now working at looking at the supply chain for those shops.
Olivia Orchard, reporting for CBJ News.
A scheme has been put in place to cut down on paper and save money. If residents choose to receive their council tax bill by email before the end of the month, they will automatically be entered into a prize draw. The lucky winner will receive a free month of council tax or a £50 voucher for the Victoria Centre. The scheme is part of Nottingham City Council's efforts to reduce the amount of paper it uses. CBJ News took to the streets of Nottingham to see whether residents would make the change.
I limit the things that I open, and although my phone and my laptop and my tablet is connected to email, I'm still reluctant to open it to see what there is.
Email is full of spam these days, so if they can send loads of viruses for an email, a council tax may look innocent, but it's going to give the hackers a bit more kind of coverage. And plus, no one reads the email anyway, really, do they? How often do you read all 800 of yours sent a day?
Well, it's probably save on paper and things like that, yes. I mean, I don't use my email very much because you get a lot of junk, but yes, I bet that'd be a very better way of doing things, cheaper, save on the environment and stuff.
And there's more good news for the environment, as Nottingham has won a £1.5 million boost to sustainable transport. The money awarded by the government will be used over the next 3 years. Sarah Hussain has more on the story.
People in Nottingham will benefit from improved green travel options after gaining a share of just under £3 million. The money will be spent on encouraging more people to cycle and walk rather than use their cars. There's also a plan to invest in more electric buses across the city to help the environment. Experts also say it will improve congestion in and around the city.
From an economic perspective, people are very quick to say, oh, the roads are blocked. They get very, very angry, but at the end of the day, it's the vehicles that are blocking the roads. If you reduce the flow of traffic in Derby City, tradespeople that do need to use the roads will get a much quicker journey, and it will be of a net gain to both the local and national economy.
He goes on to say how health will increase as a result.
It's not a myth, we know that inactivity and air pollutants, particulate matter, nitrous oxide and sulphur dioxide in particular, cause pretty unpleasant effects in the long term to human health. We're only starting to understand the full negative benefits of that, but if you were to perform a pretty rudimentary cost-benefit analysis of someone who's being treated for X, Y and Z disease, which is directly attributable to inactivity, and you put that into a cost-benefit ratio against the cost of building a cycle lane and potentially encouraging them to be more active throughout their life, it's certainly a win.
However, not everyone agrees with the use of funding. Nottingham residents have had mixed reactions, with some expressing their concerns.
Well, if you're talking about over £1 million, I'm not sure that I do. I think there are other areas which are really more essential to spend the money on.
Well, yeah, definitely. If they use the money appropriately, it would definitely make a huge impact to the environment.
It should. I think they've got enough transport. I think they should use the money for better purposes, coming into Nottingham from either ends. It's a complete eyesore. All that, the buildings, empty buildings, they just all need tidying up.
With these changes set to take place over the coming years, will the development of sustainable energy encourage people to be more environmentally friendly? Sarah Hussain for CBJ News.
And now to Jake Watson with the sports.
The transfer deadline window slammed shut last night, where clubs were fighting to reinforce their squads for the remainder of the season. Nottingham Forest left their transfers for the day extremely late, where they eventually announced the signings of Gaboli Aribi, Ross McCormack and Zach Clough from Chesterfield, Aston Villa and Bolton respectively. Meanwhile, Notts County were just as busy, who announced no less than 4 loan signings, including George Grant from Nottingham Forest and Mark Bowler from Arsenal.
And now the weather with Savannah Holmes.
Tonight sees highs of 10 degrees and lows of 8, with thick cloud throughout the night. Tomorrow looks similar to today, with light rain, highs of 10 degrees and lows of 6. Friday looks brighter with some sunny spells, but there's warnings of strong winds with highs of 9 degrees and lows of 4. Saturday is looking a bit colder and cloudier, with highs of 7 degrees and lows of 1 degree.
That's all for tonight.
You can find out more about today's stories on cbjspotlight.co.uk and keep in touch with us on our Facebook and Twitter at CBJ News Reports.
Have a great evening.